Let's get things kicked off Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. The Oregon Ducks are nearly a 10-point favorite over the third-ranked Washington Huskies at the Pac-12 title game. Second time these teams have met, obviously. Back on October 14th, Washington won the game 36-33, 6 lead changes in the game. Oregon missing the game-tying field goal there at the end that would have sent the game to overtime as time expired. And remember, Oregon went 0 for 3 on fourth downs in the game, 2 of which were inside the Washington 10. And the final one was in the field. That would have put the game on ice. Washington is looking to become the first Pac-12 team to go undefeated in a regular season since 2010. That was the Oregon Ducks. The good news for Washington, even though they're a heavy underdog in this game, regular season winners are 7-1 in rematch conference championship games. The lone loss was 2014 Oregon that defeated Arizona for the Pac-12 title and ultimately got to the college football playoff. Now, between Washington and Oregon, the Huskies have more quality wins, but the Ducks have been far more dominant. Oregon's averaging about a 30-point margin per game average, which is the best in college football. And Washington has 7 single-digit wins. That's also the most in college football, but we will give credit to Washington on this. They've won 4 games against teams in the Power 5 that are 8-4 or better. That's the most in college football. So they've beaten some good teams. I view a quality win as an 8-win Power 5 team. That's a quality win to me. Oregon has 4 of those. That's the most in the country. I bet you can't guess who they're tied with at the top. Might get to that team here in just a little bit. And they might be playing in the Big 12 title game. And it might not be Texas. All right, we'll talk about it. Let's start with Oregon's offense against Washington's defense. Oregon's offense led by Bo Nix. A lot of what he does is short. Averaging about 6.5 air yards per attempt. That's 121st out of 126 qualified quarterbacks. And 33% of Bo Nix's passes have been thrown at or behind the line of scrimmage. That's the 11th highest rate in the FBS. So he gets the ball out quick. Their offense is designed to create run after catch, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But to get the ball out quick, be decisive. And I thought last week, though, against Oregon State, he did the best job all season kind of running, throwing the ball downfield, making some contested catch situations look pretty easy. I thought there was a really, really good game for Bo Nix, probably his best of the year. I still think, and I know this is not a popular opinion, I think the best player on the Oregon Ducks is Bucky Irving. He leads the team with over 1,000 yards, about 6.5 a carry. But you look at how many times he makes guys miss. It's absurd. The guy, if he's in the open field, you are not tackling him. He is so shifty, he's so quick, and he is so explosive. He's got to be one of the most difficult tackles in the open field in the sport. Their wide receivers are excellent with Troy Franklin and Tez Johnson. Franklin's actually 3rd in the FBS. It didn't feel like that, by the way. I was surprised when I saw this. He's 3rd in the FBS with 1,300 receiving yards, 1,349 to be exact. He's actually ahead of Rome Odunze on the other side for Washington, who comes in at 1,326. Tez Johnson, though, is really good, too, as their number 2 guy. Really the slot guy, can create a lot of issues, and he does a great job in contested catch situations. Said already, 64% of the team's receiving yards have come after the catch. That's among the highest rates in the FBS. So get the ball out quick. Those guys create great separation. Bo Nix is really accurate on the underneath. Guys don't have to slow their momentum, and they make guys miss after the catch. So they're really good when it comes to that. The one area where Oregon is not crazy elite, and I'm trying to look like down the numbers, right? There's not a lot of things that you could say negatively about Oregon's offense. They are awesome. But when they are close to the end zone, okay, when they are in a goal-to-go situation, when they are in a red zone situation, they're not quite as good. Not quite as good, all right? They are 25 touchdowns on 31 goal-to-go drives. So that's an 81% conversion rate. That is 50th in the FBS. And part of that is the fact that they are 1 for 4 on fourth downs in a goal-to-go situation. Of course, 2 of those 3 misses came against the Washington Huskies. Washington's defense, a lot of this is going to be kind of a moot point. I mean, they got to be able to get after the quarterback. I think Braylon Trice the last couple of weeks has been playing maybe his best football of the season, but they have not been a team that's been great at affecting the opposing passer this year. Just 19 sacks, that's 110th. And when you look at the run game, they're not great in being able to create lost yardage plays. They're not going to get you off schedule. Okay, they are basically 128th. If you look at the numbers, they're 128th in havoc rate against the run. So it's not great along the front, but I do think they're better than the numbers would indicate. I don't know why that is, but the numbers just don't seem like they're there. But when you watch them, they do a pretty good job. I mean, Bo Nix and the offensive line do an amazing job. They get the ball out. Can Washington create some issues with their rush? Probably not, knowing the matchup in the game. So it means that it's really going to fall on their secondary. Jabbar Muhammad has been pretty good. He's their best corner. He's given up 27 completions this year and about 45% completion rate. And on the other side is Elijah Jackson. He's given up 24 completions on 47 attempts, so a little over 50%. That's not great, by the way, when you think about that. And Dominic Hampton, he's allowed a lot of big plays, too, at safety. So I think they're going to probably struggle in the back end with these wide receivers. The big thing is they have to win on third down. They have to win on third down, and they haven't been great on third down this year. They're 95th with a 41% opponent third down conversion rate. And big reason why is opponents have been getting to third and manageables. I mean, teams average about 6.5 yards to go on third down, which is 124th. So they have to be good on first and second down to get Oregon behind the sticks. And if they can, maybe they have a chance. But Oregon is extremely efficient. So is Washington's offense, though. Let's start with them. They throw it a lot, okay? They're basically 3-1 as far as their yards through the air, yards on the ground. That's massive. They create a ton of explosive plays. They have 78 plays that have gone for 20-plus yards. It's the fifth most in the country. Their offensive line is excellent, and Penix does not get under pressure very often. Much like Oregon, they keep their quarterback upright, but when Penix starts to feel the heat, his numbers drop down considerably. When the pocket's clean, 73%. When it's not clean and he's under pressure, 43%. That's the completion rate. When he's under pressure, 7.8 yards per attempt. When the pocket's clean, 9.6. That's nearly a 2-yard jump when the protection is sound. So teams have started to kind of heat him up a little bit more the last couple of weeks. So he's been facing more pressure the last couple of weeks. Teams have opted to blitz. And if you look at how Oregon has defended this year, they're very aggressive. They're going to get after you. I'd imagine Tosh Lupoy is going to call a lot of heat against Michael Penix. I would imagine that's exactly the approach that they'll have. Rome Odunze is amazing. So is Jalen Polk. They're the 1-2 punch at wide receiver. But don't forget about Jalen McMillan, who caught 5 passes last week. That was his first catch at the Michigan State game back on September 16th. So he's now back in the fold, but how effective can he be? That's the question that I have, at least at the moment. This is a big play offense that's going to generate a lot of opportunities down the field to an outstanding wide receiver core. The run game's led by Dylan Johnson. He's their leading rusher. He's picked up his production and workload the last couple weeks, but a lot of it's going to be on like pin and pull schemes where they're out on the outside, out on the perimeter, and when they get the offensive lineman pulling, they have some success. They're pretty good running the football. Now you're going to look at the numbers against SC, and maybe that elevated things a bit for Dylan Johnson. After all, he ran for 250 in that game or so. He's got 961 on the year. So 250 in one game, about 700 in the other 11. So how much of that was USC? How much of that was Washington? We'll find out. But Oregon's defense is really good. They can get after the quarterback. They blitz at a really high rate, and they have some really good players along the front like Jordan Birch, Brandon Dorless, and their defense is really good against deep balls, except for when they played against Washington the last time around. Washington, on throws that traveled 20 yards downfield, Washington was 4 of 6 with 2 touchdowns against 0 interceptions. Against everybody else, they are 13 for 55. That's 24% completion rate, 1 touchdown against 3 interceptions. Now, Oregon runs a lot of man coverage. That's what they do. They run a lot of man coverage. It's going to be very difficult for them to match up in one-on-one situations with this outstanding wide receiver core. Maybe they go a little bit more zone. Maybe they pressure to try to shrink the amount of time that Michael Penix has to observe the field. A couple trends in this one. Oregon is a 9.5-point favorite at the moment against Washington, despite losing the first meeting. It's the first time since 2020 that a team has been a 9-point favorite against the same season rematch after losing the first meeting. That year, it was Clemson who covered the 11-point margin over Notre Dame in the ACC championship game. Oregon is 9-2 against the spread as a favorite 2023, and Oregon has had 3 straight games against teams with winning records that went under the total. I like Oregon to win the game. I think Oregon will win the game. I think it's going to be close, though. Washington, everyone seems to think they've been left for dead. Kalen DeBoer knows how to get it done. He knows how to get his team ready to play. I think they're better on defense today than they were when they played Oregon a few weeks ago. I think Oregon, though, has been a well-oiled machine and is peaking at the right time with their level of play, so they get it done in the Pac-12 title game, but I expect it to be a thriller there on Friday night.